So how was System of a Down?
Well, it's the concert itself. Their performance was great.
Yeah. Where was this?
This was at T-Mobile.
T-Mobile.
Now,
okay.
I heard on the news today.
Yeah.
Now, first of all, I'll have to tell you I went and I parked at the Tropicana.
Okay.
And my plan was I'll have dinner at the Tropicana because as a way of patronizing them because I'm using their parking lot for free. Right. But they don't have any restaurants in there worth going to. I'm sorry. I went through there, and for someone who eats like I do, no.
Yeah, not even Robert Irvine's places.
No, and I thought about that. No, they didn't. So sorry. So I go over. We're over in New York, same thing. Mm-hmm. It's just nothing but shit. Yeah. So they did have a California pizza kitchen, which is fine. They have salads there. I had great service. The waitress we had was great. She knew to bring the check right away. Yeah. She was personable. She was pretty. Everything you might want from a server. Yeah. So we go to the concert, and I was probably too close to the stage. If there's such a, in fact, I was practically on the fucking stage. I mean, the first band, Skeleton Witch liked to perform to the very front. So I saw these guys in profile because that's how close I was.
Okay.
But then two things happened that were shitty. One was I lost my earplugs. I have two pairs of earplugs. They're expensive, like $28 a pair.
Oh wow!
They fell out of my pocket somehow, and they're in a little container. They're gone. Oh. The worst thing that happened though is the end of the night. Now I've got the guitar picks. Mm-hmm. They throw guitar picks. I've got a couple, right? I got Anthrax, got one. Metallica, I've got a guitar pick. Yeah. Cheap Trick from years ago, I got one. What I covet is a drumstick.
Oh, yeah.
So he throws the drumsticks out at the end of the concert. Yeah. It's coming right at me.
Yeah.
But, I never caught a drumstick before that's flipping side, end over end. Caught football. I tried to catch it like a football.
Oh, okay.
It hit me right in the chest. Bounced off. Son of a bitch, the fat chick in front of me got it.
Oh, no.
That would have made it, that would have made, losing the earplugs worth it if I would have gotten the drumstick.
You see, you should have had that Twinkie and thrown the Twinkie.
I should have.
And distracted her.
Yes, that should have been it. But I heard on the news today that the Tropicana is going to start charging for parking on days of events. They said for sure for Golden Nights.
Wow.
$15, but you get a $10 voucher good for their shithole eateries, which nobody wants to go to.
Right.
I tried to give them my money, and they didn't, it's just like there's nothing here.
Boo.
Boo.
Boo, Tropicana. Well, they've struggled for many, many years, decades, trying to keep in the game. I don't think their new owners are I think they've lost their steam.
Yeah.
But it's not new, but I'm sad to hear that.
Yeah.
Because Tropicana, at least it's only on event days, but they're gonna claim all types of events now,
Yeah.
That we're gonna charge for this and charge for that. But okay, so what's the last movie you saw in the theater now?
In the theater.
In the theater.
Oh God, I guess it was in the theater. Was it even this year? Yeah, I guess it was the Murder on the Orient Express.
Oh, okay.
The Kenneth Branagh remake.
Johnny Depp. Yeah.
With Johnny Depp.
What'd you think?
That was it. I liked it. Of course, I knew I was going to like it. I liked the original.
You like Christie? You like Agatha Christie?
No, as a writer, I thought she was terrible.
Really?
Yeah.
Why so?
I don't know. Her writing was, she could plot. But the characters to me just seemed, it was something Raymond Chandler had once said, because he didn't like her either. Yeah. And he had said, murder belongs in the gutter. And, Agatha Christie's worldview was pretty much like, murder is always kind of clean. People might be poisoned, but there's very little blood. Yeah. And usually some old lady, restores order to this peaceful little town. Yeah. And once the murderer is apprehended and is caught, everything is perfect again. Yeah. I guess maybe that's not my worldview, but now, do
you think Branagh? I believe he directed.
Yes, he did. He directed. And he starred.
Do you think his adaptation and his concept of Murder on the Orient Express was fair to the book? Fair to the original storyline? Yeah,
I mean, of course, going in, I already knew what had happened. Well, yeah, of course. Yeah. And what he did was it's reminiscent of older Agatha Christie adopted movies where you have a lot of stars who are in it for a very short period of time, basically cameos. Because that's really how her characters were to me. You know, they were pretty flat.
Sure. Yeah.
But she was very skilled at what she did. You know, the red herrings were there. Look, oh, that's a good job. She plotted that out pretty well. It just said, she wasn't ever one of my favorite.
Well,
did you like her?
You know, I did. I have to say that I haven't read a tremendous number of her novels, but I thought they were fun. I thought that particular character, Poirot, was good. Yeah. You know, and the sort of the shades of his character, you know. Show up in like Murder, She Wrote, and things of that nature. You know, the 60 plus, you know, TV watchers, they love all these things. Yeah. But it was okay. You know, but the movie I thought was quite fun. You know, I hadn't seen an adaptation of that in a very long time. So I thought it was quite fun, and I know that Susan and I are going to go see a version of possibly 12 Angry Men, which I haven't seen forever. Yeah. So I think that's going to be interesting. But speaking of movies, I was going to talk to you today about how fair and accurate movies are in representing Las Vegas, because we've been there. You know, and we've seen, you know, the inaccuracies and the, you know, it's incongruent, you know, but it's also Hollywood, so it's kind of tough. I mean, they have to make a movie that's fun, but I'm just curious what your thought. I have a list. Yeah. But I wanted to welcome everybody to the Pod Bay Door. John and I are thrilled you guys have connected to us and downloaded and through whatever means you have. Check us out on iTunes and Podbean and all of your favorite podcasting apps. Also, all of our social networking. You can reach us at thepodbaydoorlv@gmail.com. And hello to our sponsor, The Curious Confectionery. And they do some fantastic confections and right, exactly. Popcorn balls and all different types of confectionery items. Check just thecuriousconfectionery.com. Check them out, especially for their Halloween stuff. I'm sure they're doing quite a few wonderful things for that. So it's the curiousconfectionery.com. Now, I'm going to open up with the one of the best ones that 50% of the movie I think is fantastic. The rest of it, I didn't think it was so fantastic because it was a little bit more of a character study at that point. Casino.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The opening scenes of Casino and De Niro's character, you know, who basically is Lefty Rosenthal. Yeah. Fantastic. Now, as they crest into the latter half of the movie, with the drugs and the goofiness and everything else, and you know the broken marriage and Joe Pesci, it's okay. It gets a little drowned out in their damaged characters. But people have always asked me about De Niro, the opening scenes, and De Niro's character as now, in the movie, he wasn't able to be part of the casino, because he couldn't get a license. Right. So he had to have a different title. But he was essentially the general manager. Yeah. Or casino manager, which there absolutely are those. And basically, it's general manager, casino manager, shift manager, and then all the peons below. Yeah. But he was essentially the general manager. And people have asked me about the accuracy of him watching the games and affecting gameplay and changing things and changing cards and changing dice and yeah, it can happen. Yeah, I don't know. Nowadays, GMs and CMs are more corporate, I think, and they're less. They have less of a gaming background than they do a marketing background. Exactly. You're not going to see a lot of the current and contemporary GMs and CMs in the pit. No, but you will see sometimes. I mean, it always struck me as really interesting that the superstitious nature of that business, where they will close down the table if somebody's, because it's hot. Yeah. So let's close it down and cool it off. Right. Oh, come on.
Come on, really? You really believe that? Or change the deck of cards, change the dealer. Yeah. They're just, come on, they're just chucking cards at it.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I guess maybe at that time there weren't so many. When again, it's dated in the sense it took place in the 60s.
Yeah.
So it's a long time ago. It's an old Vegas that isn't there anymore. So the hierarchy was probably not as complex as it is today, sure, with all these with these levels. So yeah, and I'm sure again, being a dramatization, often they have to, and they'll do this on any true story, mm-hmm, where they even did this with Moneyball, where the Jonah Hill character is not a real person. He's not a real person from life. He is a mixture of like 3 different people. But for the movie, it gets too confusing to have three characters, kind of minor, but now this guy will put all of these skills into one, or all of these attributes into one person. It just makes the story easier to follow. And I think they did that also in Casino, that there probably were some things that he did not oversee that they gave to him just because they wanted to show it, but they didn't want to show some other characters that really weren't important to the story.
Yeah, and again, De Niro, his character, Ace Rothstein,
yes,
was Lefty Rosenthal. So that was essentially based on a real character.
Yeah.
Joe Pesci's character, of course, was, and Joe Pesci's brother were actual.
Spilatro.
Yeah, the Spilatros. They were indeed real people. Don Rickles, not so much. Although it was great to see Don Rickles.
Oh, it was always great to see Don Rickles.
And Sharon Stone, again, more of a dramatization. But you're right. I think that you have to give Hollywood a break, because life, I think, is either more unique than movies could ever depict, or boring.
Yeah, and they did film. In fact, one of the articles I wrote on our blog had a YouTube link to a scene from Casino, because it was filmed at Piero's.
Yes,
and that was authentic. And Piero's hasn't really changed much, and that's probably where that happened.
Yeah.
And other scenes that were supposed to be in other places, they also filmed at Piero's.
At Piero's. The other one that they used, and they've used it in a couple of films to represent sort of a mob location, is the Manhattan.
Yeah,
but yeah, Piero's was a great restaurant.
And I pointed out before that the location where in the beginning of the movie there's a car explosion, mm-hmm, because the real Lefty Rosenthal was a creature of habit, which is not a good thing to do when you're in that business, because people know where you are at all times. Yeah. And he always went to the Marie Callender's restaurant for breakfast every morning at the same time, and he always parked at the Tony Roma's house. Ribs place, mm-hmm, next door, and he walked across the parking lot, mm-hmm, so they knew where his car would be. And the Marie Callender's is still there on East Sahara, but the Tony Roma's is gone. It's, I don't know, it's a dildo store or something like that, adult, right, sex aids or whatever. So that's there, but you can still see it. You probably, there's, who knows? There's probably, if you dug around there, you find some DNA left.
But as far as De Niro as a boss and what he did in the gaming area, yes, that absolutely could happen. It could still happen today, but again, a lot of the bosses really don't get involved in that. Now, there was one scene where he was talking about the number of blueberries in the muffin.
Yeah.
Could he have affected that? Yeah. I mean, you're talking decades ago where the management structure was indeed different. And could he nowadays? One boss. If he really wanted to, he could call the boss of the food and beverage, director, and that person would talk to the chef, and the chef would be pissy, and there would be this whole thing, and HR would get involved. But but quite honestly, I would rather back in the day where De Niro was, where he was saying, there needs to be 42 blueberries in this muffin.
Yeah.
Put them in the muffin.
Yeah.
And but there's too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Pardon the pun.
Yeah. It was interesting on one of those travel channel shows. I think it was with the guy who always eats that crazy stuff.
Andrew Zimmer.
Yeah. And he did one on Las Vegas and eating.
Yes.
And it was interesting when he did the Bellagio Buffet, because I was sitting there laughing my ass off, because they said they have a central kitchen and it's like the busiest in the world, because of how much. And they basically make food for even all the restaurants. So wait a minute, you're saying that you could pay for the buffet, and which is not cheap, but nevertheless you would pay twice as much for the same food at one of the restaurants, throughout the hotel, and it's the same food. So it reminded me of some years ago when there was a recall on dog food because of some toxic chemical that was there, and they found out, well, it affected all these brands, and you realize, well, some of those were just cheap Walmart type brands, and other of these were these exclusive, far more expensive dog food, but all this stuff came out of the same pot.
Yeah.
Basically, they were using the same supplier. It was just a nicer can that came in.
Right.
The owner feels better. Gee, I paid $4 for this can over paying 69 cents. And, because I feel better about feeding my dog. But yeah, that structure it has evolved so much because they didn't have that. And even looking at casino, there's really no hotel aspect, right? I mean, that's ignored. Look at the title of the movie. It's not Las Vegas, it's casino. That was the focus of it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And of course the scenes where the guy walks into the cage and they're running the skim, out of the cage. That happened. Of course it happened. Could it happen today? Virtually impossible.
Yes,
virtually impossible. And that's just because of the federal guidelines they have to follow. Now, are there dirty deals in casinos all the time? Sure, yeah, but nothing like you saw in the movie. But used to be, 40 years ago. Of course it was.
Yeah.
So I would say that. And again, the latter half of the movie gets into things that are just sort of nonsensical and less about Vegas and more, about mob retribution and Sharon Stone loses her mind and James Woods is this nutty character, So I sort of discount that. The first, hour to hour and 20 minutes, fantastic. I think a great representation of Vegas with the Hollywood flair to it. So I would say, yes, they were very fair and very accurate for what they were doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the next one, I would say, I put this in here just for all the fans of it, Hangover.
Yeah.
The room, the classic, where Mike Tyson's in there and the tiger's in there and the chicken, and it was actually two different types of rooms that they used, but it was at Caesar's Palace and also Mandalay Bay.
Yeah.
No.
That's the thing.
Never gonna happen.
And it dawned on me, Jamie, when we were talking about this, that for so many years we've talked about this before, that a lot of people that come here and they're really pissed off and they're angry and they spit poison at us, was they came in here with this idea of Las Vegas that didn't live up to then they come here and they realize, hey, this isn't what I was expecting.
Yes.
And we all always thought that maybe they came here before, or this illusion of what Las Vegas was before. I heard it before I went to Japan. Oh yeah, the women walk around, in kimonos, and you're gonna have a servant, and maybe right after World War II, but not in 1984 when I went there, right? So it's kind of the same thing. You're looking at something outdated. But then when I started thinking about The Hangover, and I remember when I looked at it, I thought, this is just such total bullshit.
Right.
That some schmuck can come in and all of a sudden he's got the penthouse, he's got the presidential suite.
Right.
No, it doesn't happen.
No.
It doesn't happen. You have to be playing some really, really big
heavy money. Yeah.
And, when we were at the Venetian, we had George H.W. Bush stayed there. He was a B-level VIP, only because he was a former president.
Yeah.
He didn't even get the presidential suite, ironically. He didn't. Jean-Claude Van Damme would get it. He was an A-level because he spent a lot of money.
He spent a lot of money, but the condom story that I've told on the podcast before, he was not.
Oh.
He was just in a large. It was like it was one of our larger 2 bedrooms.
Okay.
Yeah, but no, you're right though. Right. A couple people that would get the presidential with no gameplay. Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
He came in often and to Vegas in general and got the even sports stars like Shaq. I mean, he would get a nice suite, but he wouldn't get the presidential.
No, he wouldn't get that.
Usually and foreign dignitaries, because Sheldon Adelson, who again is in the news, he and Mr. Buffett are fighting over the question number 3, which is the whole energy monopoly issue here and solar, huge thing in Vegas. But even Adelson was very politically involved, and there were some dignitaries, foreign dignitaries, that would stay in the presidential suite often.
Yeah.
And they didn't play a dime.
Yeah.
But
now and that was at his direction.
At his direction, of course. Now, The Hangover, no, it is just, it's a fun movie. It is what it is. But the things that happen, and they were one of the big offenders as far as continuity. They're driving around and they're driving past things that you can't drive past the direction they're going. And but again, it's not a big deal. But having a tiger in the room, having a chicken in the room, not so much. And the things they did to the room. The whole rock star, ruining a room, that doesn't happen really much anymore. And if it does, they're charged. They're charged a lot, like triple what they're normally charged. So
I had heard from our buddy, our former colleague Wayne, when he was at the Mirage. Dennis Rodman had stayed there, and he was passed out buck naked in the hallway. And he's a big dude. Dennis Rodman is a big dude. And it took a couple of them, here's this naked man passed out in the hallway. They want to get him in his room. And his entourage or whoever was in there had, pretty much busted up the place.
Right.
And they kicked him out.
Sure.
There's a limit to how much they'll put up with it. I
mean, because ultimately, if you're not playing, you're not important.
Yes, right.
And that's the way it is. And that's but Vegas puts that in the front. It's like they don't hide that fact.
Yeah.
We want your money. We'll give you some fun for it. But if you act like a schmo, you're 86. You're gone. Yeah. Okay. So next, Ocean's 11, the original.
Oh.
Love it.
Oh, yeah,
love. I love all the Ocean's 11. I think Soderbergh really gave a really great nod to the original.
Yeah.
And people may not like 12 and 13, and that's okay. In fact, 13's on this list. But Ocean's 11, the original, could that happen? Oh gosh, it's doubtful.
It's like Mission Impossible.
It's very doubtful. Many robbery attempts have been made. Some successful. I mean, but those are not these wonderful, heist stories.
Yeah.
It's just some guy that rolls up in a black motorcycle helmet, holds up a cashier, and makes a run for it. And because we're so close to the freeway, or most casinos are, they sometimes will get away, but they ultimately get caught because they're so stupid. They start to cash in the checks and they get caught.
There was a robbery at the Treasure Island back when they still had the pirate show.
Yeah.
And they were pretty smart as they timed it during the pirate show.
Yeah.
Because people were all, people were kind of looking at the show.
Mm-hmm.
And witnesses said, they saw guys running around with 350. They thought they were part of the show. So really? So since when did pirates? Since when were they packing 357 Magnums?
Exactly. But the one thing I have to say about the original Ocean's 11, with the original Rat Pack, Frank, Dino, Sammy, Joey Bishop, and Peter Lawford.
Yeah.
I will name them all. They regardless of the subject matter of the big heist. When they would walk around, and a lot of these were on a Hollywood, LA, soundstage.
Sure.
They weren't really here. It looked good. I mean, it looked like the pictures that we have and some film that we have of Las Vegas of that time. It was pretty accurate. It was, and Frank Sinatra was a perfect representative for that because it was he lived this place. So I would absolutely give them a thumbs up for that effort. But the heist itself, it's not so much.
And also, you look back at those older movies. We pointed this out before. You see a lot of scenes when they want to show Las Vegas of downtown, because that's pretty much where things were happening. Yeah, there were places on the Strip, but the Strip wasn't like it was since the build-up in the late '80s. Starting from them, now you see movies and they only show you the Strip. They really don't show you downtown unless it's seedy, unless it's Leaving Las Vegas.
We have we have a couple of those Leaving Las Vegas is on the list for sure. Well, let's keep going. So good job on Ocean's 11 original. Vegas Vacation. Now, I am not a huge vacation movie fan. I am not a huge Chevy Chase fan. However, I have to say, because I have a soft spot for my hometown. It is one of the funnier movies, because with the tongue-in-cheek, over the top, overboard way they did it, it actually has more accuracy than say The Hangover.
It does. The scene in the buffet what is it, the blue
with the blue or the brown.
Wait a minute, and they switched the signs around. I thought, the buffets now are, of course, much classier than that.
Yeah.
But that did kind of remind me of Chow, the Venetian.
Team member dining room.
Team member dining room at the Venetian, which was probably more like that. But hey, it was free.
Yeah, that's true. But the buffet, and that buffet actually, that scene. I don't know where they shot the actual buffet scene, but the where they walk in there, that's actually the Laughing Jackalope hotel where they walk in to get that buffet. He and Randy Quaid, and then of course the when they check into the hotel. And the girl, with a map says, turn left, turn right, make two more rights. That's absolutely true.
Yes, it is.
That's absolutely true. I have actually heard a front desk person check somebody and give them directions to their room in the Venetian with that deer in the headlights result. I mean, it is absolutely true that people say that. And Caesar's Palace, is notorious for that because it's their front desk is like a hidden kind of thing from where the room elevators are. But
nothing can be worse than the MGM. I mean, just in terms of its size.
It's just sheer size.
Holy shit. Yeah. I walked through there, last week when I went to the concert and I wanted to say, my God, how does anybody, and it must get frustrating when you're carrying your bag. It's like, where do I check in? Go down this canyon. Yeah. Basically, that's what it is.
There are some shortcuts to the Venetian.
Yes.
Like you can actually come down, cheat, and come all the way down to the parking garage level 1. Yeah. Come right in those doors, and you're right at the front desk.
Yes.
You can't. Yes. Yeah.
And I remember I took pride in, because again, being somebody who's pays attention to language. Mm-hmm. How can I describe how to get to the room succinctly so that somebody who doesn't understand go down to the high, make a right turn. Someone would say at the crap table, maybe they don't play. They don't know what it looks like. They can't tell that from the blackjack table. So, but they do know pizza. So go down, you'll see Enzo's Pizza here, right? And I draw it on the map for them, make a right turn and go on an angle like this. And you come to the elevator banks.
That's right. And now there's a chocolatier, Bouchon. Bakery has a bakery and chocolate shop right there. Right next to the elevator. So now it's easy. Yeah, I know. It's easy. So a big thumbs up to Vegas Vacation. Yes. I mean, it's just, it is silly, but they're actually closer than I would say Hangover.
Yeah.
Now, this is an interesting one, but I think it's going to get my thumbs up. Rain Man.
Oh, yeah.
Honestly, if you take a real look at it and with a jaundiced eye, you really see that there is the accuracy is there. The table activity is not bad. Yeah. Now would they kind of earmark that individual to be looked at? Yeah. Yeah, he wouldn't be gambling very long, especially if he was gambling as a pair with Tom Cruise. Yeah, they would tag them right away, or flag, I guess, and then they would let it go for a little bit and see what's going on. But they would be talked to pretty quickly on their first visit. There wouldn't be a lot of return visits for them. But as far as the atmosphere and the driving around town and their vocabulary, it was pretty good. Yeah, pretty good, I have to say. Not only that, it was a fantastic movie.
Yeah, it was a great movie.
Yeah, so thumbs up there, I think. Now, Ocean's 13, not a lot to talk about on this one. The whole thing is just fabricated.
Yeah, I didn't see that one.
Yeah, I mean they had a fabricated hotel. Andy Garcia was back into it, helping the Ocean's 11 original group. But everything about it was not right. But they kind of put that in the front of the film. I mean, it was they came back to Vegas. The Ocean's 12, of course, was not really based here. You let it all go. I mean, they had a made up hotel, made up scenario, made up situation, and they CG'd the buildings around the hotel, so it was here. It was definitely in Vegas, but I discount that one pretty heavily because it was just they remade the town based on their script, what they needed. But again, it was fun. It was fun. John mentioned it earlier. Leaving Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Now, Leaving Las Vegas was less of a portrait of the town, rather than a portrait of the sort of the underbelly of the town.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And brilliant in doing so.
Yeah.
We've talked about, one of the best views is sitting at Mon Ami Gabi and watching the tragic people that have yet to go to bed.
Yeah.
Walking down the strip.
Shame. Yeah.
The girls with the torn dresses and dirty dresses and their heels thrown over their shoulder, and the guys, staggering in and out of the street.
You're wearing a vest and no shirt.
Vest and no shirt, shoes and no socks. That's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. And the people like Nicolas Cage, there are many. They may not be as damaged as he was in this particular film, but and the explosions on tables, and flipping tables over and things like that, absolutely has happened.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Vegas, unfortunately, suborns, the bad habits and keeps them going. And I've seen it. My friends have seen it. John has seen it.
Yeah.
I mean, we joke about people getting drunk and getting in the fountain and puking all over the place. It happens. That's, and it's not great. It's funny maybe at the time, maybe funny later.
It gets tired.
Yeah.
It gets tired and it gets depressing. It can be.
It does. It does. And so you have to always remember, when you're in Vegas, you gotta kind of, keep your head about you. But I thought it was a brilliant portrait of how bad Vegas can be.
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe it's the part of Vegas that obviously isn't marketed.
Yeah.
But it's the part of Vegas that that is always there.
Yeah, and the thing is that for people that we know who don't live here or don't come here, or they just come here and they only see the Strip. How can people live there? Raise kids. Well, we don't live on the Strip. Like I said, I went to the concert last week, and I was there. I hadn't been on there in 6 months. Mm-hmm. I don't have any need to go up there. But what you don't see in the movies, what you do see in the movies is generally the Strip where you see downtown. Mm-hmm. But what Leaving Las Vegas did show you is, that it is very interesting to get in a car and drive north of the stratosphere. Now you're off of that Strip area, right? The Strip basically being the stratosphere at one end and Mandalay Bay really at the other. You can go out farther. You
can go to the M, but no one does.
But yeah, no.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately. Although I'm going to go there today.
Okay.
Yeah, but anyhow, but really the Strip area is that. Those are the two bookmarks. And if you go north past the stratosphere downtown, it's like that time warp. You see these old, grungy, beat up, but they're cool to look at because they haven't been modernized since the 1950s.
50s, yeah.
You see some of this old architecture and room rates by the hour with and that's where Nicolas Cage was living, mm-hmm, right? I mean, that's it. And then you get out of the area, and these shithole places are out there.
Yeah.
With the drunks and the people who the system has just chewed up and spit out.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So definite thumbs up for a pretty tragic situation. Yeah. But fantastic job. Now, the next one, 21. Kevin Spacey, about the MIT group that came in here.
Oh, yeah.
It's absolutely true. Yeah, the movie embellishes quite a bit. Yeah. Of course, everybody, thinks Spacey's the Antichrist now, but whatever. It's still a movie about Vegas. It's still a movie about gaming. It's a movie about mathematics and the beauty of it. And it's a movie about growing up in a different way, becoming an adult. And its depiction of Vegas is nonsensical. It's inaccurate. And it is completely geared on making it an interesting subject, but basically it wasn't very interesting. I mean, it happened. The MIT people came in here, and they had a teacher that was the head of the group. They were successful for a while. They got caught, and that was it. Again, Vegas stories tend to be boring, but I thought it was an enjoyable film. But is it accurate? No, not at all. Not at all. Fear and Loathing. A movie near and dear to John's heart.
Yes.
I have to say that I have never seen Fear and Loathing from beginning to end.
You know, I saw the original Where the Buffalo Roam with Bill Murray.
Yes, I've
but
seen
I'm
that.
a fan of the book.
Okay.
So so I watched that. I was disappointed in it.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't see the one with Johnny Depp. I just didn't.
Did not?
Yeah,
okay.
No, because I have already.
You know, Hunter S. Thompson, I think it's unfair to. I put it in here for you.
Yeah.
I think it's unfair to grade it on this particular scale that we're doing today.
Yeah.
Because Hunter S. Thompson's viewpoint of anything, may it be Vegas or anything, is skewed.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be. That's the way the man was, and I think he existed on a different plane. The way he conveyed his thoughts, it would be unfair to do that. It was a fantastic background, you know, and I've seen enough of the film to say I've seen it. You know, Depp and Del Toro were, oh gosh, I think they were great. Not knowing Hunter S. Thompson and having probably never read enough of his work to say I've read it, I think they were fantastic, and I know they consulted directly with him. He was still alive at the time. But its depiction of Vegas was this damaged and kaleidoscopic.
Yeah, we never. You know, in reading the book, you know, you never know where the fantasy begins and the reality ends. Because I mean, there were times I read things, and then like Circus, the acrobat performers, I figured that was when I first read it. I hadn't been here. I was only 19, 20 years old. I just figured again, oh, this is his, you know, drug haze.
Right.
Seeing this with the drug haze, then I came here and said, no, that was real. Man. They really do have acrobats.
Yeah, they really do.
Yeah, and it's hard to see that now. I mean, if you read the book now and come here and say, oh, it's different. Well, yeah, because we've talked about this before. The city just tears itself down and reinvents itself.
Yeah.
So we're even what Tom Wolfe wrote back in, you know, in Candy Colored Tangerine Flake Streamline Baby about Las Vegas. Well, that's interesting for the time, but it doesn't really exist anymore.
And I have to again confirm, Mr. Tom Wolfe is dead.
Yeah. Just like he's there with Hunter S. Thompson.
Yeah, he's up there or down there. I don't know where they are.
And they're in the ground.
Yeah, they're there. But okay, next is another one that I like. I like, you know, Michael Bay and Jerry Bruckheimer. I think they provide me a lot of entertainment. But Con Air is ostensibly the worst depiction of Las Vegas as far as continuity I have ever seen. You know, that. Please argue with me. Send me tweets. Send me Facebook messages. Tell me what if you disagree. If give me a movie that you think is worse. But what the airplane crash scene is the worst mapping of Las Vegas I've ever seen. Jason Bourne, the most recent one, I think it was called Jason Bourne, or just Bourne, did a pretty good job. You know, they took some license, but they and we've actually watched the filming.
I remember when they did that.
Wonderful. Yeah. Our friend Danette was involved. She was right there on set. But Con Air, it's the only, it's on here because it's tragic. It's tragic to watch that. When you live here and you watch that crash scene with Swamp Thing and Nicolas Cage, and they're going by the Riviera, and then they're going by Circus, and then suddenly there's the Riv again, and it's just tragic.
I get the same thing when I look at movies of San Francisco. I said, wait a minute, back that up. The cable car doesn't go that way.
Right. And then there is a chase scene. And there was this tunnel that just does not exist. It's clearly a tunnel in Los Angeles, but I had to put it on there because it's the worst. But it's Con Air. How can you not like it? Now, you mentioned Coolers. William H. Macy in The Cooler, with one of the finest performances that I've ever seen, is I think probably the best depiction of downtown Las Vegas. The feeling, the true feeling of gaming and gambling. I'm not even going to say gaming. Gaming is fluffy and light, and it seems to have little angels around it. It's gambling.
Gambling.
Yes. And probably Oscar. Well, I think he was indeed nominated. Alec Baldwin. He was a casino boss.
Yeah.
fantastic. I mean, it hits every single point accurately. Maria Bello plays a cocktail waitress, and it's dirty, it's grungy, it's dark. You know, it has a very understated soundtrack. It's tragic, and yet it has hope. I think it is the quintessential gambling film. And do coolers exist? As you said, of course they do. Yep. If only a switch of the dealer. See, that cooling. That's all it is. It's just changing the pattern and trying to upset, the gambling gods, or just upset the person. Because sometimes that's all it takes.
Yeah.
And suddenly he's off. But I think double thumbs up for that one. I think it's a fantastic film. You don't ever see it anymore. I mean, they with all the streaming that we have, you never see it on the streams. You never see it on Hulu or Netflix or Amazon. But it's The Cooler, William H. Macy. If you haven't seen it, go ahead. Honorable mention, last on our list.
Yeah,
I had to do it. Showgirls.
Oh, God, that was awful.
It was.
That was awful.
It was. Whereas Con Air was awful, and still you had to say, man, that was a fun film.
Yeah.
Showgirls.
Oh, that was bad.
Awful. Elizabeth Burt. The only good thing about
Didn't
it was
Paul Verhoeven direct that?
Yes.
Oh God, he really tanked on that.
And Elizabeth Berkley was stunning.
Yeah, she was.
She was stunning. I mean, you couldn't believe it was her. But that was. I can't imagine anybody arguing with you and I saying that was the worst Vegas depiction ever on screen.
Yeah.
And that was a major release. Now we have all the Amazon streaming and all the indies coming out, but it was just the worst. And I know I've made mention of it many times. I've had them on the show. It is not a true depiction of dancing and dancers. No. It's just Gina Gershon, gorgeous.
Yes.
Silly.
Yes.
It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
So and I think everybody agrees.
And overall, and not just that. Not only was it a bad depiction of Las Vegas, it was just a plain shitty movie.
It was.
Oh, it was awful.
Yeah, it was awful. It was insulting to Vegas.
Yeah.
Insulting to Hollywood.
Yeah.
Her being as gorgeous as she was couldn't save the film.
Yeah.
And you and I both agree that hot chicks can save films.
Yes.
She didn't. Yeah, but they were at the Stardust and it was wrong, and they were showed the staging and it was wrong, and all the walking up and down, and her last scene leaving Las Vegas on that on a motorcycle, that's wrong.
Yeah,
that's not a road here, So yeah, that's a dishonorable mention, I guess. I should say.
I remember seeing that on videotape. In Japan, when I lived there, there was a video store, and they didn't have a lot of English movies.
Yeah.
And usually what they got were really bad because they were the ones that were popular with the Japanese, which meant there was either a big release like that, or it was, Friday the 13th Part 9. Mm-hmm. Because, hey, there's just a lot of violence or something, and you don't need a lot of dialogue.
Right.
Because they're gonna have subtitles, but often those were wrong. I could read, that's not what he meant. What do you mean?
Right.
Yeah. Don't say that the guy said, he's out to lunch, meaning he was absent-minded. And they put down he went out to eat rice. Literally, he went out to eat. No, that's not. But anyhow, that was one of the movies. I remember watching it. So I'd seen a lot of bad movies, and I thought, Jesus, this is terrible. Now
we've only scratched the surface. Yes. There are many others that I think we'll revisit the subject for sure. But those are definitely the ones that kind of piqued my interest. And I would say as I look back at the list here that Hollywood did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
They dropped the ball a couple significant times. But I think in general our town is pretty well received.
Yeah. There's a lot of movies that we didn't mention because all they used Las Vegas for is to blow it up.
But blow it up.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like Las Vegas is a go-to for most films. I mean, they'll come through here for whatever, it's a plot point in some way. But I'm talking about, these are specifically about Vegas. Now, Con Air, of course, was not about Vegas, but I had to mention the plane crash.
Yeah.
Now, John had in the prior to recording our show today, John had texted me about the top grossing restaurants.
Yes.
We thought we'd make that as an aside here. I have to remind myself of the top grossing restaurant. Carnivino.
Yes.
Now, these are in no particular order.
No, I think that was, I know what number one was, because it was a list from, I guess it was USA Today. They had the top 50 in the country.
Okay.
And the number one in the entire...
So this is top grossing in the country?
In the country. Okay, and then of those, 5 of them were from Las Vegas.
Okay.
But number one in the whole country was Dow at the Venetian.
Okay.
Number 3 was like Dow in Miami or New York or something. But number one, Las Vegas, $43 million. Wow. And that was more than twice of what any other restaurant.
These are 2017 numbers? Or?
Yes, I believe they were 2007.
Wow.
So Dow was number one. But Carnivino was on there.
Carnivino, now gone.
Now gone.
Because old Mario got Me Too.
He liked to,
I don't
fondle the kitchen help. I don't know.
Sure, why not? Mon Ami Gabi, we've mentioned fondly several times here.
Yes.
Highly recommended still. Joe's Crab.
Yes, you've mentioned that too.
Yes. Bring 2 wallets for that one.
Yes, but that's at Caesars.
Tao, as you said. And SW Steak.
SW Steak.
That's a surprising one.
Yes, that surprised me too.
So Las Vegas, obviously, still being a foodie's paradise, came in heavy on that list. But I didn't realize it was top grossing in the country.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And well, obviously 2017 numbers, Carnivino was still around. I'm sad to see Batali's restaurants go down because of that.
Yeah.
Because they're great restaurants. They're fun. But that's great. I didn't realize that. Now, I have one question, and then we will sign off for the day. This was directed to John. This is from Jared.
All right.
I am a concierge in New York.
Oh, right.
I actually do have a lot of pull when it comes to my clients. Why don't you guys have any juice?
Yeah.
That was a great question.
Yeah.
John.
Well, we talked about this before. It's a town... just like these movie show, casino.
Yeah.
That preference is given to the casino guests. The hotel guests are kind of supplemental.
Mm-hmm.
So management, because we are the hotel resort casino in that order, or whatever, is that there's all these different elements there. The hotels here are huge.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just the way that the town is configured that even the hotel limousines, we can get somebody a limousine for a fee, but it's not going to be the one with the Venetian's name on it, because those were used for the casino,
right?
Unless it was a real, it was some outstanding circumstance where we could get the hotel limousine. Otherwise, it was Bell or it was Las Vegas Limousines or somebody else, probably a nicer one.
Yeah.
But you're not going to go around town with the Venetian's name on it, because those were in use by the casino.
Right,
so we did have some pull with local restaurants off the strip that would like us to send people there. So we could call them. We even found some that were a little bit off the strip, like Lowry's.
Yeah.
It was a very good restaurant,
Still
and they were always very accommodating for us. I one time had a wedding party on Saturday. They had no plans. We want 25 people on a Saturday. Lowry's took them.
Wow.
It's a great place.
Sure.
And I was able to get them in.
I can only have fish there now, though. It's
yes,
sad.
Yeah.
You've ruined me, John.
I have.
Yeah,
I've ruined a lot. But that's just I think the way the city is that we don't have that kind of pull.
No, John's absolutely right, Jared. We knew it going in, though. I mean, I think we knew ultimately. We might have had little fantasies that we're going to have the For the Love of Money, situation like Michael J. Fox in New York, great film. Gabrielle Anwar, and of course he had all the pull. Yeah. He had tickets up his sleeve, and he had contacts, and we were able to make contacts, but they weren't contacts that were individual. We weren't allowed to do anything individually. Yeah. John couldn't have a special this and a special that, because everything was the beginnings of this irritating transparency.
Yeah.
That seems to have taken over us, and we couldn't do anything like that. So there were no and that translated on a concierge level. We couldn't do anything special for anybody. Any vendor that we had a special relationship with, there was money that was exchanging hands directly to the hotel. or they were paying the hotel, or the hotel was paying them, and it was really awful. We realized very soon after opening, they were like, well, hey, why aren't we allowed to do this?
We had like a $50 comp, and we had to get permission.
Yeah,
there were times I wanted to say, we need to send this guy a fruit basket. Yeah, it's $35 for an apple and an orange and a couple of grapes. Basically, that's what it was.
Yes,
and the apple had a bruise on it.
Right.
And a banana that was brown.
Yeah.
But I have to get permission, and can I send this guy this fruit basket because he got screwed over or whatever? Mm-hmm. Oh well, maybe not. Whatever. We had no pull really. Yeah. The only thing I can remember having was, and this was that even came close to it, was because I had a friend that I knew who was very good friends with Lance Burton. Mm. I was able to get his assistant's phone number. So if I needed something, somebody's going to Lance Burton's show, if it happened to be Lance Burton, and it's her anniversary or something, I could call her and ask her to mention it to Lance, and she would. Mm-hmm. They were really good. He was a great guy. So that was about it. That was probably one of the very few things I could have done for anybody.
The best I did, and I was pretty good, and John and I, as we've said, we were the older members of the concierge. So, we weren't these little wet behind the ears kids. I made, you were speaking of limousines. Roger.
Yes.
I don't know if you remember Roger.
Yep.
Roger was this giant dude.
Yes.
So cool.
Huge hands. Remember that?
Yeah, he was like a bear.
Yes.
And Roger was very cool, and he ran the limousines for the Venetian limousines.
Yeah.
And you could under the table, take care of people within your hotel, and they could take care of you as long everything was above board and you didn't ask for too much.
Yeah.
So things like that could happen. But the reason I think that we were powerless to do what New York concierges do is the corporate structure.
Yes.
They wanted every piece of every dollar that transacted in that building every single day.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. We were a revenue generating department.
Yeah.
And therefore we were scrutinized, and therefore we couldn't do anything individually or special. But yes, that was the frustrating part. We had a comp dollar amount, but then we had to get that approved. It's like, well, that's
and just the sheer numbers. Even when we worked there, when we opened, we only, and I put that in quotes, had 3,036 rooms, which has grown since then.
Yeah.
So we have a guest. They only want green M&Ms. I can tell you where to get them. Mm-hmm. They have an M&M shop down the street. Go down there. You're gonna have to get them yourself.
Yeah.
I don't have the time. I can't leave the building. I can't go down there. If I do that, I'll get my ass chewed out. Because it had happened before, because I could speak Japanese. They had a Japanese player.
Yeah.
And, they needed somebody to translate for this guy. So I went into the casino and I helped him out. And when I came back, I got taken basically to the woodshed again. You were gone from the desk for 10 minutes. And somebody needed a room tour. And we had two. It wasn't like the desk was abandoned.
Yeah.
And I thought, come on. I was out there helping this guy, and it was a casino guest, no less. Mm-hmm. Bringing up with his casino house.
You're absolutely right. That's another reason, again, speaking to Jared, most likely, Jared, you're able to put a sign on your desk, be back in 10, be back in 30, whatever. We weren't able to do that. Now, I have to say, I was the first to seemingly break the rules on a regular basis. Yeah. I left I because I don't like to deal on the phone, and we didn't have the technology of texting or tablets at the time. And I like face to face. If I have a problem, I want to talk to you. If I don't have a problem, if I want to do something nice, I still want to talk to you. And so I would go and deal with stuff. Because I had, great guys working with me like John and Fred and Danette, and I knew that they had it. So yeah, that again though, I was still tethered. I had to come back. I had to come back.
Yeah, I remember it was great that one time when the fat lady broke the escalator, and I guess when the escalator finally just says I quit. And it stopped suddenly, and she jarred her neck or whatever. They wanted the neck brace, and they sent me to the Walgreens around the corner to pick it up, and I was just ecstatic. I got to leave I got to leave the building, on authorized business, and I got to leave, and I got to buy something and come back, and here it is, and wow, great, that was fabulous. I got to fucking get out of this place.
Carried you through a couple of days.
That's right.
So, Jared, I hope we answered your question. It's a different beast out here.
Yeah, and if you come out here, you would be very disappointed.
Yeah, you would be disappointed. And I don't think currently it's getting any better with all the everything changing, the transparencies and the Me Too's and the biases.
That was the other thing, is that we had certain vendors that the hotel wanted us to use because of the how much money they could make. Again, we were generating income for them.
Yeah. So
they were keeping 90%. And sometimes those vendors weren't very good, and we could find somebody else who was willing to do it, even if it was a limo driver who had a nice limo, and hey, he's kind of on his own. He can squeeze in. And, he's getting paid and he's giving us something. He's getting much better service. Hotel didn't want that because they're not getting a cut out of that.
Yeah. So there you go. Corporate greed is the dog that is eating all the bones out here.
That's right.
But hopefully that answered your question. Thank you so much, Jared, for that question. We invite everybody to send in questions, and you guys do. I answer them as best I can online. Some of them get on air, so we'll have another fan question show very soon. But hopefully everybody can find their peace. Try to be kind out there. And for John, this is Jamey, and we will see you next week. Thanks to everyone listening and watching. You can catch the Pod Bay Door on the Podbean app or any of your favorite podcast apps, including iTunes, Google Play, TuneIn, and Stitcher Radio. You can watch the show on our YouTube channel at the Pod Bay Door Podcast. Please download, like, and subscribe. Our social connectivity screen is coming up. Check in with us on Facebook, Twitter, and WordPress. The Pod Bay Door is closed and talent is out. Hey everybody, thank you very much for tuning into the show. We would love to hear your show suggestions and comments. If you are watching on our YouTube channel, please click to subscribe. You can also connect with us on Facebook using @PBD Podcast, on Twitter using @TPBD Podcast, and on WordPress at thepodbaydoor.wordpress.com.